are live.
All right, and I am recording. From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Greed Factory.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Got an action-packed show for you tonight. Lots of great stuff going on. Incoming news, Ruth Ginsburg rose from the dead today. So now the entire election has been thrown into chaos. Because will we align ourselves with the living or the dead? That's the question you got to ask yourself. I did like it that at the Catholic prayer breakfast in Washington, D.C., the former bishop of Washington, D.C. sent a letter saying that Donald Trump is engaged in a conflict and, he is on the side of good versus the forces of evil that are trying to take over America. And I was like, that's interesting. That's like, I'm glad that somebody, and this is the former guy, so I'm taking he's out. He had an unfortunate name, though. It's an Italian name, but to read it in English, it sounds like his name is like, Bishop Vagitus. It's like, well, okay, that's weird. But yeah, he has decided he sent a letter that he wanted read before the Washington prayer breakfast. But then, surprisingly, they did not read it. But that's an interesting take. Donald Trump, soldier of light. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I didn't know how to take that. It's like, is he saying that he's on the side of good or evil, or he has the choice?
Well, he's on the side of good. He's waging war against the forces of evil in this country that are trying to take over. It's like, okay, wow. Maybe I'm not a learned, a bishop or a clergyman. Their definitions of good and evil must really be different from what I thought they were, but okay. I thought that was a strange, tidbit in the news. Good and evil. I like that. That makes it nice and easy to understand. Pick your side and just give them both barrels. I don't know. It's a battle of good versus evil.
It's the stand.
Well, that always leads to a lot of rational, clear thinking. When you're behind the people you are opposed to ideologically or morally or whatever, just as evil. It's like, well, okay, we know where this is going. You don't make a truce with evil. You don't make an alliance with evil. You just destroy it. So that's just what we need to hear in this country. What other bit of interesting weird? I don't know. There's so much weirdness in the news. I can't keep up with it anymore.
Well, the only news I got is Sola's back.
Who?
Sola Iwali from Bon Appetit.
Oh, is he?
Oh, it's she.
Is she? Okay, that's how much I know about it.
I think I talked about her before, and I said she's energetic, but she has this weird sadness, and she has all these tattoos on her arms. Like, what's that about? So, and then Bon Appetit was just continues to be a dumpster fire.
Oh, still fighting amongst themselves,
and they have not returned to YouTube yet.
Okay, that's good.
Almost like all their editors of color have either resigned or have exited their video contract.
Huh.
Because she no longer has a video contract at Bon Appetit, so she won't be appearing on videos, but she's still an associate editor for them.
Okay.
But anyways, now she has her own show with Binging with Babish.
Okay, I've heard of that.
So now they've like renamed it the YouTube channel like the Babish Culinary Universe.
All right.
So she has a channel where she like it's like a wheel. She has to make something, and the wheel determines like basically things. So the first episode was she had to make macaronia, but like macaronia. What the fuck is that? Macaroni, but with only using 18th century's techniques.
Oh, okay. So what do you make macaroni? What are the 18th century techniques? Just flour and
Yeah, pretty much. Well, like she had to build a fire, and then like had like all cast iron skillets and stuff like that. And she used flour that was like available at the time, and made handmade noodles.
okay.
And then just like kind of crammed it full of cheese and a bechamel with it too, and then just cooked it over an open fire.
Yeah, I forget what that flour is because I know, like, there's this artisanal bread store we go to. They keep really bizarre hours, so it's basically just like call and see if we're open, like whatever they're doing. But great bread, but they make those old-fashioned rounds. And the lady was trying to explain to me once about like the flour they use because it's basically from a strain of wheat that like it's from the past. It's
Yeah.
not this kind of wheat, but it's horribly inefficient to harvest it and grow, so it's expensive. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm here buying, like fancy bread. I know I'm not bitching about the price, but I was just like interested in the process. And because it was like a sourdough and stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, that's just like a sourdough culture from ancient times or whatever. They don't use anything modern. On some of their stuff, they just make loaves of bread. But the thing with this stuff is like, it's like, oh, here's a round of bread. This is cool. Let's get some cheese and eat this. But like, you got to eat this stuff in 2 days. There's no preservatives, nothing. If you freeze it, when you thaw it out, it turns to mush. So you got to eat it. It's like, get it today and eat it today. But it's really good.
She had an interesting method to make the noodles, where she basically just kind of had like the dough kind of like rolled out really thin on like a piece of wood.
Okay.
And then almost like a paint scraper just kind of like scraped off a bit, and it kind of like rolled up in a little bit, and then like went into the water to cook.
Okay.
So that was interesting. But yeah, then there was another. I think they're gonna be coming out Saturdays, but they had like 2 this week. So she has that one and another one where she's making an eating plate, or what do you call it? It's just like a bunch of little snacks. And it's
hors d'oeuvre plate.
yeah, kind of.
Okay.
I forget what it was called. It's like a thing. Like you have it for weddings and stuff, where it's just
Finger sandwiches and bunch
yeah,
of,
yeah. But it's like you get like a bunch of different, like it's like a 7-course meal, but it's all just like little like trinket foods or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But she had to make it out of nothing but stuff from a convenience store, so like bodegas and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So no like actual like store ingredients. So she's doing. It's like half hours. I only got like a little bit into it, where she's making ice cream sandwiches out of Twinkies.
Combos with toothpicks in them. Right.
No, she did a lot of stuff where she took like the base stuff you get in the box or whatever, and then grinds it up and like bakes it in a way. Like she kind of made chicharrones, which is basically like pork rinds, out of Cheez-Its, out of like Cheez-It dust that was like ground up and kind of formed together and then thrown in a frying oil.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So check out, yeah, if you're not subscribed to Binging with Babish, I recommend that. So
Yeah. I've watched some of his videos. They come up and you might like this occasionally.
so yeah, she'll probably actually get paid there. So or what she did.
Or you should probably get paid helping someone make money.
Well, they said Binging with Babish has more subscribers than Bon Appetit, so there's probably a lot of money there.
Yeah. That's a big channel. I mean, he's been on like the night shows and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think cooking shows are kind of the way to go on YouTube. Because you look at other stuff, you look at like gun channels, and of course there's like it's seen as objectionable content, so you can't what do you call that? Monetize it without getting constantly red flagged or whatever. And then there's like the other side where there's like a bunch of music channels where it's like people just like teaching how to make music or just having fun with music, and they're like copyright strikes all day long.
Yeah.
It's like you can't have a music channel, but like cooking channels, there's no objectionable content. It's interesting because you get to see a process happen, and nothing's intellectual property. Like food's not an intellectual
Yeah,
property,
you can't own food yet. Yeah.
except for Krispy Krowns. Orida owns Krispy Krowns.
Yeah. Yeah. Cooking with the Reich. It's like, what?
Cooking
make-
with guns.
Food guns. I remember a lot of those. Remember those science channels? Like a lot of those guys got strikes for like basically telling people how to make destructive things.
Yeah.
And that's not. I didn't think it was fair, and because these guys are just like, some of them are weird geniuses, like 22-year-olds that can build their own laser with parts, and they like have charts, and they understand all the frequencies and how much current and stuff. Yeah, some of that stuff, it was purely innocent. I don't know why they got flagged, but some of those guys are like napalm. It's like, no, 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 no. But yeah, I did like the guy who made like a laser and like set a tree on fire. And he had it mounted on a truck. It's like, yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, it's cool, but I don't know if I'd put that on. But I don't know how much money he had in it too. It looked like he probably put $50,000 worth of equipment.
Yeah.
Because he basically took a telescope and made it into a laser projector, like it was working. He bought like a big Kasigian telescope, took it all apart and made it work backwards. So the eyepiece was the emitter. And it was bouncing it around, and he shot it at a tree, and it caught on fire. And he lives in California. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe not that right now. Well, I think it was done in the wet season.
I forget, there was like some guy who's an engineer. I think they're talking about, I think like Adam Savage was talking about him, where he's just this guy. He does whatever the hell he wants. And like just a master craftsman all the way, like woodworking, metalworking, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like he made like the world's largest like private indoor aquarium for some rich dude just to get money so he can just work on his own projects again.
Oh, okay. Taking that rich guy cash.
And then just turns around and makes whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, I've seen the guys do. It's like, why is sodium in water so dangerous? We're going to find out. Your neighbors must be the most patient people in the world. Yeah, I used to like to watch
Fun with mercury.
Look at this flow through my hands. It's like magic. I'm feeling dizzy. Hold on, kids.
But this clock looks amazing.
Well, that was one of the ones where I saw about the old projection TVs, like the guys that actually built frames for Fresnel lenses, and like they lived in like Arizona. And like, let's see what this will melt. They're wearing full on welding goggles because they're putting these lenses on like big blocks of wood and even pieces of aluminum. And if they catch the sun right and you can focus it, like that aluminum will start smoking and melting. And these guys are doing it with a lens out of a projection TV. It's like, that's amazing. Of course, those guys aren't around anymore, I'm sure. Because they told people, it's like, don't do this unless you're wearing welding goggles. Because if you look at it, it'll just burn your eyeballs out. So I'm sure somebody did something stupid. I mean, well, when we had an eclipse a couple of years ago, they're like, don't look at the sun. How many people were in the ER? I can't see anymore. Well, what
Don't look at the sun. Donald Trump looks at the sun.
That's fake news. You stare at it all day. Even the light will make the disease go away. Gotta let it in through your eyes, into your body. I'll say I finally watched the Raised by Wolves.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's suitably strange. You should watch it. We'll talk about it more.
Okay.
It's weird, but it's kind of cool. And then I watched Utopia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are sharp object people, right? It's like
Yeah.
some weird sci-fi dystopia, but it's called Utopia.
Well, well, I can see why. Like, there's a big, what do you call that? Like, before the show starts, warning: this is not based on any current pandemic, because it's all about pandemic diseases and this that's been spreading them around the world, and it's like, oh yeah, I can see why this didn't get released right away. And it's really dark, and it's like as nasty as The Boys, but without a kind of a sense of relief that comes. It's just unrelentingly bleak and dark, and not. It tries to be quirky and funny, but it comes across as vaguely sociopathic. Like, the character arcs in it are terrible. The actors try to do a good job, but it's like, oh, this is just bleak. So, but you again watch that.
It sounds like you don't like it, but you should watch it anyways.
I'm not saying I don't like it. I just don't. I think it's like, is this Amazon's identity now? Is like The Boys type shows, but without any of the humor, and with really hateable characters. But maybe I mean, I've watched. It's not done yet.
Yeah.
So like John Cusack's fine, great in it actually. Rainn Wilson's good when he shows up. I mean, everyone's like, the actors and stuff are fine, but it's kind of it's almost unfunny and mean more than anything.
Yeah.
Considering the subject matter, I guess makes sense. But see, this was a show based on a comic, based on a TV show from the UK.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's like its third regeneration in America, but with like I said, very similar to The Boys in production value and story, but very well, it doesn't have any of the like, oh my god, you know, that kind of weird humor that The Boys have. Like, someone explodes and then someone will make a joke, and it's like, oh, okay, that's awful, but and you know who the bad people are in The Boys, mostly. Whereas this one, it's kind of like, oh, all these, you know, everyone involved with this is bad in some way. But maybe there's a redemption storyline there, or maybe there isn't. I don't know. But yeah, this is the one that, the writer from Sharp Objects, and it was supposed to be David Fincher, but he opted out of it.
Huh.
So I forget who's doing it now. But I mean, it's well made.
It's not another Ridley Scott thing, because he seems to be on top of all that Amazon stuff.
No, it's not Ridley Scott. But yeah, it's like I said, it's well made, but it's a little mean without. It seems like humorless, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Well, when you said it was British, it's like that made more sense to me.
well, it was based on a British show. This is an American version of it.
Yeah, but like I feel like there's a lot of British things that have like that unrelenting pessimism behind it.
Yeah.
And then you're like waiting for a point. It's like, no, there's no point. This is just how it is.
Misery. We're bleak children in a bleak, cloudy country, and this is what we think of the world. So yeah, it's worth checking out. Maybe it'll get better. I just watched it all. I watched like all 8 of them at once, because there's more. They come out every Friday.
Okay.
They just released a bunch of them at once, and then they're going to start the coming out every Friday. And it was, maybe I was just a little overloaded by. It's like, god damn. Gonna take a breath here and stop the endless murder.
There's not really an F1 update this week, because there's no F1 this week. But they just had qualifying today for the Russian Grand Prix at Sochi.
Oh, that's right.
Which I hear Sochi is a really boring track, so I doubt anything interesting will happen. But you know, anytime I say like I don't think anything will happen, like something fucking crazy happens. The only thing interesting about Sochi is there's like a part of a track where it's just like a half a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Like not like a gentle curve, like parabola arc. It's just like, here's half a circle in the middle of a straight. So that's kind of its only really identifying characteristic. Otherwise, it's just people seem to be bored of it because it's just very flat.
Oh, okay.
Lots of runoff areas.
Doesn't have a loop-de-loop feature or anything.
No. Although this seems to be Sebastian Vettel winning the wall today, so it seems like some,
Challenge.
yeah, there's some danger there.
There's always danger when you're driving ultralight vehicles at 200 miles. Anything can happen.
Well, it was weird. Like he hit the wall and like his wing just like fell off and like went back in the road, and his teammate was flying behind him and just ran over the wing.
Oops. That damaged both cars?
I don't know. They can probably fix that stuff, but
Yeah.
spend all night working on it.
Yeah, as soon as they see that, they just start brewing buckets of coffee. Get ready, boys.
But it's not. It was interesting because I was like, I believe that was during qualifying. I want to say it was Q2, and it brought out a red flag again, and because Lewis Hamilton had to like abort one of his laps because he went over the track limits. No, so he didn't abort it; it was just declined because he went outside the track limits, and because of the red flag, he basically had like 3 seconds like after they restarted to get a lap going, or he wasn't going to be able to, or he wasn't going to have a time for Q2, and he was going to be like in the back of the pack,
Oh, okay.
which that would have been cool, but. No, he got it just in the nick of time, and he qualified for Q3, and then of course, he got pole position. So,
Of course.
although Max Verstappen got 2, and Valtteri Bottas got 3, which is kind of surprising, because he's like really good at this track. Bottas seems to be really good at the tracks that everyone finds boring.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that's about, but they were talking about how all the odd slots on the grid are going to be to an advantage on the start of the race.
Oh, okay.
So even though he's in third position, he actually has a better chance of getting past Max Verstappen in the first couple of turns. Just because I don't know, I think how the racing line is, it just adds advantages to the people on the odd number of the grids, because there's already rubber laid down from races before. So something like that. Anyways, yeah, the Russian Grand Prix starts I think at 2:00,
Okay.
maybe. It starts really early. It's not gonna be at like 9:00 like it was the other couple times, because now they're in Russia, so I don't know what time zone they're in. But
Yeah, God knows.
pretty much as soon as we finish the podcast, I think the race starts.
The Russian Grand Prix has only ever been won by Mercedes.
Yep. Yeah, it's a fairly new track.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mercedes. Yep. It's only been one by Mercedes. And I forget what's after that. I think it's like Portugal, which they haven't done. They haven't raced there in a long time. There's one track that's kind of interesting. They're going to do. It might be. I don't think it's Azerbaijan, but it's something. And they're going to do 2 races there on 2 different track configurations.
Oh, okay.
So there's like one track configuration where it's like kind of a small loop, and then there's another track configuration where it's just like a really big loop.
Oh. Now let me see where are the.
Oh, it starts in 7 hours, so it'll be 5 in the morning, something like that. Yeah, 5, 6 in the morning.
Trying to find a schedule of where all their races are going to be this year.
Let's see here. So we got Russia. Next we have Germany. Okay.
Germany, Portugal, Italy, Turkey, Bahrain.
Okay, yeah, that's the track they're doing. They do different ones. Is that Bahrain?
Yeah, Bahrain 1, Bahrain 2, Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, they usually end at Abu Dhabi. So But usually the championship's ramped up is wrapped up by then, so it's a pretty useless race.
Yeah.
But also it's gonna be in December, so that'll be weird.
That's weird. They should do that in the snow somewhere.
Well, they're saying in Germany it might get weird enough that there might be snow at the race,
Yeah, that could be.
but I don't know I don't know the weather report. But that was always they're like, yeah, it'll snow in September in Germany, or will it be October by then?
It will
Oh, it'll be October.
October, yeah.
Oh shit, are they taking? Oh, they're taking another 2 weeks off. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. That Portugal race is like at the end of October. And then they have one like on the 30th. The one in Italy is on the 31st of October to the 1st of November.
Yeah.
And in Turkey, and in Abu Dhabi, I don't think it ever snows there.
No. I forget. There's I think it was Singapore. Singapore gets so fucking hot that they do the race at night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. There's also another thing about Singapore. I think it's the longest race of the season, so they just like add extra laps in it. And it's just like an endurance thing for the driver because they're like, I think it's a 2-hour race when they're usually like an hour and a half. And even though they do it at night, it's still just fucking hot as hell.
Wow.
Well, I mean, those cars get hot as hell anyways. So I remember it was Lando Norris was talking about how he doesn't drink during the race because they have this little tube that's hooked up to water and like you can drink it during the race, but he never does because he says like essentially by the time you're done with your first lap, like it's just like hot water.
Oh, yeah. It's just like your body temperature. It's like you're drinking, piss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's body temperature, just the car temperature, all that. I mean, yeah, because those guys sweat like 15 pounds of sweat, like, each one of those races. Because then they get up on like the podium and they look like they pissed themselves. Like, oh, that's just sweat.
Yeah. And they're just sweating out. Yeah, boy, Singapore is mercilessly hot. Well, it's not that it's hot and temperature-wise, but it's built in a tropic. It's right on the equator.
Yeah.
So it's 90 degrees. It fluctuates between 87 and 90 in the hot season, but it's 100% humidity the whole time. And also, it's very urbanized, which means it's just like a lot of asphalt and things that radiate the heat away really well.
Yeah.
So F1.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of expect Lewis Hamilton to win because, like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But this is a track that Bottas is good at. Max Verstappen looks like he. Oh yeah, I guess the weird thing is that because of that whole screw up with the red flag, Lewis Hamilton will be starting on soft tires, which I guess will leave him at a disadvantage.
Okay.
Because I think he'll have to pit early to put new tires on. So we'll see
How that goes. So you played some board games.
Yeah, I got to hang out with some Marine buddies of mine, and I got to play some board games. So I got to play some more of that Marvel Legendary deck, which I've continued to expand on it. I'll eventually just get them all. But
Yeah.
let's see here. So that's one edition.
All right.
Let's switch this over. Yeah, this has Kamala Khan and Gwenpool and another version of the Hulk. I forget what this does differently. And then here's a Venom pack. So Venom is a good guy in this pack.
All
and,
right.
and probably a bad guy. I don't know. These are the smaller packs, so it's only like 100 cards or so. Yeah, 100 cards. And then I got another big expansion.
Uh-oh. What is that one?
Secret Wars.
Secret Wars. Okay.
So I guess what's interesting about this is it has it adds a new twist where somebody can play as the mastermind against the other players.
Oh,
Because usually the game is played as like cooperatively.
yeah.
So that just adds some new rules. But yeah, I got to play Star Wars. Actually, I didn't play Star Wars Rebellion. I just watched two people play it
Oh, yeah.
because it's just too complicated. So I'm sitting there. I played a YouTube video for them, like how to set it up, hoping that they'll like pick up on it. And then I was sitting there reading the rule books, which is there's two rule books. There's like a quick setup guide, and then there's like a glossary index guide where you can just look up anything and like try to get to interpret the rules. Which I think we just like misinterpret the rules the entire time, but it created a really interesting game. Because so like when you play as the Empire, you basically have all the stuff to your advantage. You just have all these ships and soldiers to your advantage.
Yeah.
And while the Rebel, you barely get shit. And it's because it's called asymmetrical gameplay because like even though you're playing the same game, really, you're on the same board, but two of you are playing completely different games.
Yeah. One group's playing World War II, the other group's playing the Vietnam War.
Yeah, exactly. Because the way the Empire wins is if they destroy the Rebel base, which you can either attack all the units inside the Rebel base, or you can bring over the Death Star and activate a card and blow up the planet. And but also the Rebels will have the opportunity to move the Rebel base before it gets blown up too.
Oh, okay.
So there's all different kinds of things that you can make happen. The way the Rebels win is there's like a timepiece, and through every turn this timepiece advances forward. And if you meet certain qualifications, there's these objective cards. And if you meet the qualification, then you like move the reputation piece back. And if the timepiece and the reputation piece touch each other, then the Rebels win.
Oh, okay.
So you're just holding out. That's all you're doing as the Rebels.
Yeah, just attrition.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like Tamayo, he had so many units, like we didn't have enough units to actually like give them to them. Like there wasn't enough pieces in the set to give him all the pieces that he was like technically built. Because based on these planets you kind of get these build orders, and there's like different stages. Either build at stage 3 or if it's built at stage 1, then you basically immediately once that phase is over, you get everything in the one slot.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like an RTS, except
So
just
an RTS tech tree.
yeah.
Okay.
And also like you can change the alliance of a planet. So all Tamayo has to do is like get a soldier on a planet, and then it's what they call subjugated. So then you don't get all the resources, but you get some of the resources. Whereas the Rebels can't even do that. They have to either get some cards that will churn an alliance or not. So like, if you subjugate a planet, you get like more build stuff. So he just has like a fuck ton of units, and Baird is just like running away from. But the thing that was like crazy is that there's a rule that Baird picked up on that Tamayo didn't, which is that the only way you can reveal... Well, there's a couple different ways, but the only way you can reveal the Rebel base is if you have ground troops on the planet.
Okay.
And so, like, you take a card... There's just a card of, like, all the planets on the board, and you take that card, and it's like, all right, this is where the Rebel base is. And there's, like... And then you put all the other cards on just to the side, and then like he gets to draw 2 of them every turn. So then he gets to like kind of whittle things down as a process elimination. Like, all right, where's the Rebel base? And it got to a point where like, well, it's not that planet because I have troops there. But he didn't. He had 2 ships flying around the planet, but there's none on the ground, so it didn't reveal the Rebel base.
Oh, okay.
So at one point, like Baird was at the planet, and then he like ran away to bring all his troops to another planet, and he like totally like Baird was like, or Tamayo was like, well, obviously your rebel base is over there, so he like went for that planet, and then it wasn't there. I'm not doing a great job of explaining it, but it was fun at the time because it's like me and Baird knew something, like knew this rule that Tamayo didn't. It was just like, and we're sitting there trying to like, should we just give him the hint?
Yeah.
But like yeah, that was always, but there was a hint because Baird was always like talking about ground units and stuff. It's like, no, you can't do that because you don't have ground units. So he's like basically hinting all the way through. It's like, this is why you haven't found the rebel base yet.
Huh.
And I end up picking the rebel base, and I had it at like kind of the center of the galaxy, and Tamayo kept expanding outwards, which is why he never found the base.
Oh, okay.
But also he had those two ships there, so he assumed like, well, it's not there because he's got two ships there.
I think he's got that covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty wildly complicated. I even watched a review of it because found YouTube sites where they review board games, and they kind of say like, once you play both sides once, you kind of like you kind of see what that game has to offer. So may not have like a long, but
Doesn't have a bunch of replay values.
yeah. Well, it seems like because like the setup was, we just went with a setup that it told us to.
Yeah.
So I imagine you can do a lot of different scenario setups, and I can imagine that being like adding to the variety of the game.
So tell me, has there been a resurgence in this type of gaming going on, or is this always?
Oh
been-
yeah.
But it's just becoming bigger now, or
Well, I mean, I think it's just like the devoted. This stuff's pretty pricey, but also there's just kind of like in Germany, this is a big thing. So there's been a lot of import of like German board games.
oh, okay.
So you get stuff like Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne and Catan. Like I believe those are all German board games. But those are simple ones.
Yeah.
This one's like pretty complicated, but yeah, there's been a resurgence in board games, but it's like kind of like board games for adults.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the new twist, where it's like we're not making like a different Monopoly. It's just like here's a board game that kind of like emulates like Command and Conquer almost,
Right.
but it's really like because that's what the Star Wars game was basically Command and Conquer, but it's like all about how you interpret the rules, which we were interpreting them incorrectly all the time, which probably made it exciting because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. Whereas if you were just playing a video game, it's like they'd just tell you like that you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grand Moff Tarkin ended up blowing up a planet in front of Princess Leia. Then he turned Princess Leia over to the dark side and became one of his units. That was pretty interesting. There's one part where he's just blowing up planets because there's like these regions that these planets are held in, and so if he used the Death Star to blow up a planet, he could move all his units to like the other side of the region. So he was like blowing up planets just to, like slingshot all his units over to a different planet,
Huh.
which seemed kind of like overkill, but it was funny. Because you can only blow up 3 different planets in the game.
Oh, okay.
I think so. I mean, you only have 3. You get these 3 little placemats that you place over a planet when it's been blown up. So maybe you can use it more, but you only have 3 to represent a planet being blown up. Oh yeah, he also blew up Kashyyyk.
Oh no.
All those Wookiees now don't have a planet anymore, but Alderaan survives. So. But yeah, I was like looking up other stuff. I hear like there's one that's Underwater Cities where it's like a base building game. That seemed kind of interesting. There's this one that popped up by looking at these other games on Amazon called Gloomhaven, which is like $100 board game that's just full of shit. And I think it was a Kickstarter game, but it seems to be more along the lines of like D&D rather than just a board game. Like it seems to be an elaborate D&D setup rather than here's a board game.
It's like $150.
Oh, Jesus.
It's pretty big though. It's like a 50-pound box.
Yeah.
Oh, and you can expand. Yeah, that looks like. What's that game called? Just Dungeons and Dragons type stuff.
And then I saw like more some of this guy's YouTube channel who reviews board games, and there's some interesting things he was coming across. Where it's called Nightmare Chess, where it's just chess, but then you get cards that affect the board.
Okay.
So like you like play these cards, and then there's just like a horizontal region on the board that nobody can pass for like a couple of turns, and so it just alters chess, which sounds pretty interesting.
Huh. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the cards now. That's pretty interesting. God, they got a lot of different rules of chess.
But yeah, it's a whole thing. So
Is D&D still a thing?
oh yeah,
Yeah, I don't think that ever stopped.
no, I don't know what rules there are on now, but there's but and I got that Expanse RPG that I'll never play. They just had another Kickstarter for dice for that game, so now you can get like Earth, Mars, OPA, and Protogen dice.
Huh. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just dice, but they're decorated based on the faction. So yeah, I kickstarted some of them.
Dragons is huge. Oh, yeah, they got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, is your model shop exclusively models, or do they have a board game section too?
No, they're exclusively models. Anything like games they have would be like what Andrew's into.
Oh, Warhammer. Okay.
It's just a game where you collect expensive things and build them.
Of course, I keep seeing on other channels these games where it just comes with a bunch of like wooden blocks and that represent things, and like it must be like the same game company that makes it, but there's you just have blocks that represents people, or they have like people shaped things that are called meeples.
Okay.
And it's just like 800 different games like have these exact same items that are used for the game.
Oh, so they've just invented a set of things, totems you play with, and they've just invented a bunch of games around that. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah, it seems like it's got a good money-making initiative. Collect them all.
But yeah, that's Adventures in Gaming.
And then, of course, there's always the Monopoly game. Played with real money. Remember, there was always stories about rich people doing that. And they probably did at some point. Like, they just play Monopoly, but the bank is actual real money.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know how much money that would be.
I think one time me and my friends attempted to do that, but it was just like all pennies and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's hard to go to the bank. Yeah, give me 100,000 $100 bills. Let's divide that up.
Ended up playing with a neighbor who had a gambling problem.
Yeah, and then people find out about it and they rob the game. And the real game is you got to hunt them down and kill them to get your money for your fake mob that you invented. Somebody robbed Fredo's game.
I still haven't finished watching Killing Them Softly. I mean to do that.
Oh, yeah, it's all right. It's perfectly serviceable as a crime drama. Yeah, the G1 climax started. Okay.
Do you remember what this is?
I've heard of it.
It is wrestling.
Yes, I knew it was wrestling, but I couldn't think of what organization.
New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Okay, yeah.
So what this is, you have two blocks. You have an A block and a B block, and every wrestler wrestles everybody at least once, and then
Okay.
you get points. Basically, you get 2 points for winning. I think 1 point if there's a draw. And the winner of A block and the winner of B block fight at the end, and whoever wins gets a briefcase that you can cash in for any championship fight.
Okay.
So usually, the magic of the G1 is that you just get a lot of different looks of wrestlers, and you get to see like maybe people have never wrestled before, maybe they wrestled before, but now they have a different match type they're gonna do, and just like it ends up being like pretty like diverse when you expect it wouldn't necessarily be that way. Because it's not like there's a story. It's like the story is like this is a competition. You know, it's not like a faction against a faction or anything like that. Although the Bullet Club are always out there creating shenanigans. So
Yeah.
the Bullet Club are the foreign assholes in New Japan for wrestling.
The Gaijin.
yeah. Although they have recruited some Japanese guys, and now they're seen as extra evil. That they're taking away they're influencing badly the Japanese talent.
Because that's the worst thing you can do in the world.
yeah.
Be a bad influence on the Japanese.
Well, there was a guy. I think it was Hideo Hitomi. That's what his name was in WWE, and he got injured a lot at WWE, and then they just ended up letting him go. And then he went back to New Japan. He came back to New Japan last year at the previous G1 Climax, and had a pretty good run. Like he got to, because there's a lot of moves and shit that he invented that he didn't get to do because other people are using those moves at WWE. So now he gets to have all his moves back. The big one is the go to sleep, where you put someone in a fireman's carry on your back, and you kind of like shrug them off, and you knee them in the face on the way down.
Nice.
It's called the go to sleep. He's known as Kenta now, which I believe he's known as that before. Like I'm not sure. Kenta has like some specific meaning. Like there's been multiple Kentas. Like it has. I think it might refer to an animal or something, because like his symbol is like some sort of like it's like a skeleton of like a badger or something with some fangs, and it says Kenta Fang Revived, which I don't know if it's like some weird Japanese thing or if it has some meaning I'm not aware of, but he has a really cool entrance theme where it seems like some sort of Lost Ministry song.
Okay.
He just gets out there and he antagonizes the audience, and because he won some tournament that they had in the U.S., so now he has a briefcase of his own, but specifically to fight for the U.S. Championship, which is right now being held up by John Moxley, who's at AAW, but because they can't leave to go wrestle anywhere, like that championship is just on hold.
Oh, all right.
Which is also because they did that before. I forget, for some reason, John Moxley couldn't get to New Japan. I think there was like a hurricane or something like that, and then they just like took the title off of him, and then had like a separate match. But then he won it back again, and then you have the pandemic, so now the U.S. title is just like held up because it's hard to get people places. So yeah, there's 50% capacity, but the way they're doing things, like people don't really yell. It's just all clapping, so it's kind of weird. But still, it's really enjoyable. The other thing I find kind of a bummer is that the English commentary track doesn't come till like a couple days after the show comes out.
Oh.
Because they're doing it remotely, but they're not doing it live. So, which they have some pretty good American announcers. But it's always fun to hear the Japanese announcers, because they get really.
Oh yeah, they get into it.
Yeah.
You can tell whatever doesn't. You can't understand a word they're saying, but you know when they're excited. They get really excited.
Well, yeah, the only time I understand things is like the like the finishing moves and stuff like that. Like they say them in English.
Oh, okay.
So like I know the finishing moves. Then like because I remember there's like Shingo Takagi. One of his finishing moves is called the pumping bomber, where he just like bounds off the ropes a bunch of times and he just gives a lariat to the fucking chest. And then like you hear the announcers go, "Pumping bomber."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a lot. Yeah, the A block is super stacked. Like basically all their top talent is in the A block,
Yeah.
which is weird. Which is not to say like the B block sucks, but it's just like it's not wall to wall like A class talent. But Kenta's in the B block, but I like watching Kenta. Tanahashi's in the B block, which he's like kind of the veteran guy who put the company on his back years ago. He got an extra special shape now, so
Oh, okay.
he's been having some problem with like torn pectoral stuff like that. So he's kind of back from that stuff. A lot of people have been healing up, with their time off, which is good because it looks like Tetsuya Naito, who's also in B block, looks like he can actually walk again, so that's good.
That's good to walk when you're.
Because like he is fascinating to watch. He just exudes like coolness. You can like he just adds something to a match, but you can see him. You can see that he hurts with everything he does.
Oh.
And he specifically like he went to Mexico to learn the luchador style, so he has like a lot of like high flying, twisty wraparound stuff that he does all these complicated things, but it looks like it comes off a bit slow and a bit achy nowadays. But so he seems to have healed up pretty well, so now he's kind of back to old form.
Oh.
So that's good. He always like comes out in like a white suit. He's like right now he's the champion, but he's a double champ. He has like the Intercontinental title and the World Heavyweight title. So he comes out, and usually like he treated the Intercontinental Championship with like disrespect. So he just like comes out with it dragging on the floor, and like he doesn't give a shit.
Oh.
So now he has both titles they're kind of dragging on the floor, but not all the way. He's being a bit more respectful of it. I'll say he has this thing where he holds his eye open, like it's just a thing, like it's like all his shirts and merch like have it on there. I was like, what's that about? And apparently it's like when he was in Mexico, like learning the luchador style, like that's how the Mexican audience would taunt him.
Oh, okay.
So he like used it to kind of throw it back at him. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, whoa.
So it's racism.
Yeah. But he's claiming it for himself.
Yep. Gotta name it and claim it.
Yeah. It looks like right now they're doing like they'll have 2 days in a row, one A block, one B block, and then a couple days off, an A block, B block. Because usually the G1 schedule is like pretty fucking crazy. It's like you're wrestling 3 times a week, and you're not taking it easy.
Yeah.
But they got what's his name? Minoru Suzuki's out there. He's back in the G1. I think he missed it last year because they were. He's like 50 years old, so I don't think they're really expecting him to last through the G1. I think they thought he'd get injured, so they didn't let him in last year.
Oh,
But he's in this year, so. Because, like I said, they have a limited talented pool that they can actually get to come there and wrestle. So,
yeah.
so yeah, it's wrestling.
Wrestling. Let's see what we got in the. There were some news items. I didn't actually put them in the notes, but. Oh yeah, the German royal family wants their money back now. They officially filed that suit.
From who?
Well, what are they? I don't know how you say this in German, but it's like it's the Hohenzollern dynasty. They're basically the people that ruled Germany, Austro-Hungary, all that area.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that kind of got defunct after the First World War, but they were still, they still owned a lot of stuff. And when World War II came along, they played patty cake with Hitler. And then when the German Constitution was rewritten at the end of World War II, basically, if you helped the Nazis in any way, like everything you had was seized.
Yeah.
And they got to keep some things, but I guess the guy who's like the crown prince or whatever, because they've been talking about it for years, that this family's going to just go something in the court to get stuff back, because they say that those laws are not fair or whatever. I don't know what the argument is, but they say there's some people in Germany that are violently opposed to it, and there's some people that are like, it's who cares? It's history. So it's kind of, because I've been hearing for the last 4 years that it's like, oh, the German royal family's coming out of the shadows again. It's like, what? What does that mean? How does that affect the world? And it doesn't, but unless Germany's going to go back to dynastic imperial rule, which I don't know. It's a weird world. But I found that to be interesting. That was just something I've been reading about. Every so often it'll pop up. And then, of course, we got a new Supreme Court nominee, Amy Barrett, which that will, they say that's going to flip the court conservative for probably the next generation.
Yeah.
So, but, they've said that before. We'll see. Because they put people in there and then they start voting against them. It's like, wait a minute. What are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm interpreting the Constitution. Because that one guy that retired, what was that guy? David Souter. He retired fairly, quickly. And, but he was someone Bush put in, and they said, oh, he's an arch conservative, and he always voted with the liberals on almost everything. But not because he's liberal, just because he's like, well, as the law is written, this is the correct decision. And then that guy the first guy Trump put in, what was his name? Gorsuch? Like, he went against them on some things. Because then we had Kavanaugh, and now we got Barrett. So Trump's had 3 Supreme Court picks. Sleep well, America.
Get your abortions while you can.
Yeah, go get them.
And don't worry about your guns. They'll be there.
Yeah, I kind of gave up on that, worrying about that. It's like, oh, this is obviously not going anywhere. So. One good thing that's come out of coronavirus is there haven't been near as many school shootings. I wonder why that is.
Has there been more suicides, though?
Oh, yeah, suicide. Well, I don't know. The suicide rate it's been through the roof, but it's one of those, you really just, when you read something, you're like, what? Let me look into this, and it gets real vague and nebulous. I mean, the suicide rate in this country has been catastrophic for like 10 years. But there's a lot of like I've said before, it's like, did these people, did long-term intravenous drug users just suddenly overdose? Did they miscalculate, or did they want to die? Or did grandma take too much of her meds by accident or on a lot of those things, like it's a gray area. Like if someone blows their brains all over the wall with a shotgun, it's like, oh, that's suicide. But it's I'm sure it has been. I mean, there's just a lot of weird people out there, a lot of sad people out there.
Well, I just figure if they can't get their anger out on the public, then they have to do it on themselves. So,
well, it's what they yeah. But yeah, that's so that's that. Can't think of any other news. I mean, if you want to watch the news, go watch it. Sometimes I try to find weird stuff, but some of the stuff I'm finding lately is almost too weird. Looking for more UFO news.
That's it. I remember there was like some video that Kevin Smith was getting all up in arms about. Ended up on Joe Rogan, that stuff too. Joe Rogan just bought a mansion in Austin.
Oh, did he? Okay.
It's like a $14 million mansion.
Well, he's got the money.
Yep. Well, I keep getting in the Google News feed, which is like, it's fucked because it's like, oh, you looked up this thing, like we'll just feed you news, and so it's all this weird, like,
Yeah.
behind the scenes Spotify stuff that like I don't even know if it's real or if it's just like, well, it seems plausible. We'll just write about it if it's happening, but. Like
Oh,
people,
yeah. There's been a consistent drumbeat of people trying to do a hatchet job on him ever since the spot the thing was announced. So, and I don't know if it's bullshit or if it's real. I don't know.
well, when they brought it over to Spotify, there were missing episodes. Like so, like they didn't have it was the red faced pumpkin shithead.
Which one? Jones?
Yeah, Alex Jones. Like they like those aren't available on Spotify. They're still available like where they were before, but Spotify kicked those off.
Yeah. No, yeah. Alex Jones has been officially unpersoned by the tech giants. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
not going to tolerate him in any form. So. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I mean, I don't know. Everything's just so weird anymore. You hear this stuff. It's like, did you hear the thing about the guy on the Mandalorian who's supposed to
Yeah.
quit the show? And is that true or not? I don't.
Yeah, I saw some headline that was like, he's just voicing the show.
Okay.
Which
What does that mean he quit, or does that mean it's like easier to earn money just doing the voice?
yeah, I don't know.
Going up in a hot costume.
But that's that's also where we're just speculating. It's like, does he really have to do the show, or is there just a stunt guy and then he just does the voice? Like, because
Yeah.
I wonder if they do that in Doom Patrol. Like, still not sure if fucking what's his name?
Brendan Fraser's the
Yeah.
guy for all the makeup.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's him or not because like I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can look it up, but I just haven't. I just like, it seems like you could get away with him not being there because he's also probably the person that would demand the biggest paycheck. So it'd probably be cheaper to just get a stunt guy to do all his acting, and he just does
Yeah,
the
like-
voice.
You want to do your voice, pay you $500,000 to record 12 hours of dialogue. It's like, yeah, absolutely. Stay at home in my underwear and record it? Sure. So, yeah, I don't know. You hear all this stuff, and it's like, huh, that's interesting, but I'm never interested enough to follow up on it. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I'll never get the
Well,
link.
I read a headline like that. It's like it just wants you to click it. So I hold my own. I was like, no, it's bullshit. It's always going to be bullshit. It's always going to be a thinly veiled, extracted thing. Like we picked up on this and we think this might be the thing. It's like, oh, so it's no proof and just speculation. Like I can do that on my own.
Well, that Joe Rogan Spotify stuff, I listen to a lot of podcasts where people who are other comedians talk about that. And they're all usually friends of Joe Rogan's, or at least people who like him. And they're like saying it's like, oh, they're going to censor him. It's like, no, they're not. It's not like they just had one guy research him before they offered him $500 million. I'm sure they vetted that pretty well. And they knew like, oh, this is how we could make money with this guy. And let's be honest, Joe Rogan's not going to do this for another 20 years either. Eventually, he's just going to get out of it. He's probably just making his money and like, oh, okay. But then you never know. Because then there have been a lot of attacks on his guests because somebody made a joke 10 years ago that they didn't like. It's like, well, let's go after Joey Diaz. It's like, go after him. I mean, yeah. The guy was a hardcore drug addict most of his life. It's like, I'm sure he's going to say some crazy shit.
As are most comedians.
That's what he's known for. That's like his shtick. But let's talk about how, he said something improper about women. It's like, yeah, it's no shit.
He's a comedian.
He's a comedian.
You don't have to like it, but you don't have to like rally around him being fired from Joe Rogan.
Well, I like the what's the guy's name? Doug Stanhope. Like he always says, he's like, I'm not setting public policy here. It's calling me to like, well, what do you think we should do? Do this. Okay, that'll be the rule. It's like because he said that about a lot of things with comedians. Like these people aren't in charge of anything. They're not. This isn't going to become like, well, that's what he said, so that we're changing the Constitution. People act like, but that's just that dumb culture war shit. That's going to create something that nobody in this country is ready for. But they all say they won't. But then once it happens and it's like, oh, we've won, we're going to change things, and then the other side retaliates, then everyone's going to be fucking horrified. And it's like, oh, wait, didn't you want to? Isn't that what all this antagonism was about? To try to get people mad? Well, now they're mad.
I was like, comedians do wield the power. It's just very uncoordinated. But because remember Olestra?
Yes.
I think I don't know. I have no proof of this. I feel like comedians killed Olestra.
Yeah. Well, Patton Oswalt, didn't he have a whole thing about it?
Oh, probably. But
yeah. I mean, that's all I remember. Like he would do the whispering, or maybe that was the other guy. I don't know. Who's the guy who whispers? Is that? He just had the big Amazon special. Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah.
Where he'll do the thing and then a voice will talk like, it's Olestra, it's cholesterol free, low in fat, may cause anal leakage. There was a whole litany of people doing that. I don't know who I'm stealing that from, but it's one of those guys.
I mean, Jim Gaffigan is known for his food comedy, so
yeah,
that seems him and it's him getting diarrhea from Hot Pockets, and Olestra seems like it fit in right in there. So
yeah, I have never heard about that since. But if everyone's shitting their pants, they're not going to eat it. But
yeah, but I don't think anybody was. It's just like he put that on the package, may cause anal leakage. That's just like a joke waiting to write it. So
oh yeah, that's just it's like you've teed the ball up. Now we're gonna knock it out of the park. Yeah, they could have come up with a better warning. I don't know, or maybe they had to.
I think the Action Boys are talking about like sugar-free candy, which has uses some sort of like alcohol or ethanol or whatever as its like sugar replacement, which will give you
sugar.
Yeah, which will give you diarrhea if you eat a whole bunch of it. So like, they're just making whole jokes about like shitting the bed after eating a whole bag of like sugar-free Jolly Ranchers and stuff.
Yeah, I ate Skittles and had projectile diarrhea. The other thing about those alcohol-based sugars, and there are a lot of them that also destroy your kidneys if they're not formulated right. Because it's, I remember I read that once. I was like, huh? So what? We're just taking a gamble? Like, I just think I'll eat the sugar. I mean, that'll kill me in a different way, but I never got that substitute stuff. It's like, this is why I use butter. I don't use like Country Crock or anything. It's because like, it's all bad for you, just in a different way. I'll use butter. If I want that, I'll use butter because I know how butter is going to kill me. Because a lot of that, like, spreadable, like, because that stuff was created in World War II. They called it, like, oleo or something. It was because they couldn't manufacture butter because they needed some ingredient in butter for the war. That's where margarine and stuff, because it was, like, oil-based instead of dairy-based. But some of that stuff, like I've seen guys do, break it down chemically. Like you're a few steps away from plastic with some of that margarine. It's like it's like one more ingredient, and this would be like a solid. Like it would be some kind of like sealant for your porch or something. It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna eat the butter. Obviously, for anyone who can see me, I'm eating the butter by the stick. But yeah, anything they come up with. It's like, what were those things, the veggie burgers at
the Burger King?
Yeah, and they broke it down like molecularly, and it's like, well, this is just as bad for you in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's plant based, but then like you're getting like twice the sodium.
Yeah, it's sodium and the oils that don't break down, and they'll clog your arteries. But I guess it's pitched more as a humanitarian thing, which okay, whatever.
I mean, it's there if you're interested in it. So
yeah, not. Got to stop eating meat. No, we don't. It's killing the environment. So are 7 billion people. We were just imagine how we could live if there was only a billion, which is one of the big or one of the big story points in Utopia. It's like that's what the bad guys trying to do. It's like we could live like decadent kings in Rome if there was only a billion people on the planet, and half the characters are like, yeah, he's right, and he's not wrong. But how you get there that's a long and horrible road.
Yeah, can't kill 6 billion people on a timetable that would ever be appropriate.
Well, no, this is about it. Just stops human reproduction. It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't. It's not killing a bunch of people. It's just no one has babies for like 30 years or something, which would be very children of men.
Yeah.
Which is probably something like that's going to happen anyway, but it's going to be done through laws. I mean, it's already happening in Germany, the United States. No, I mean, we haven't passed any laws in this country or in Europe that I know of saying how many kids you can have. We've just made it so fucking expensive to have that a lot of people don't. And you're going to start seeing that, and like, because our parents had 3 kids, their parents had 5. I've had 1. And I can never have any more unless I adopt them. I won't. So I am having 1 child, and that's it. And you're seeing that, now extrapolate that over 50 years, and it's but you're not seeing it in the third world. That's the problem. It's like they're still cranking them out, because there's one group that says, well, it'll plateau by like 2040, and it's like the world will be dead by then, it won't matter. And it's like, where are you getting those numbers? Science. Explain it. No, pay taxes. Shut up. You pay more taxes, though, global warming goes away. It does? Okay, cool. Sold. Whatever. However you want to enslave me. You don't have to lie to me, though. Just tell me you're going to enslave me, and you have all the power. It's okay. Not much I can do about it. We don't need to cook up fantasies.
Speaking of enslavement and Germans, we watched a movie this week.
Yes, we did. We watched the wildly entertaining Freaks, You're One of Us, which was perfectly serviceable.
Yeah.
But completely uninteresting. Because after I watched, it's like eating a Snickers bar really fast. It's like,
yeah,
I don't feel better.
It's a German superhero movie, which I thought there would be some sort of like German take on the superhero format, and like no, it's like a very generic. Like whenever an indie company makes like a attempt at a superhero movie, like they kind of make this movie.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything like really that different, other than like I don't necessarily always think of Germany as like there being people who have like menial jobs and like they can't pay their house payments. Like I don't think of Germans in that way, so I guess it's interesting to get a look at that here.
Just lower class Germans.
Yeah. So that was interesting, and like most superhero origin movies, like usually like the build up of the first half is pretty good, and then it all falls apart in the end where you have to like really quickly make a villain and then like solve that dilemma, and like with like half a movie to go. And this movie's only like an hour and a half long, so it's short to begin with.
That's not very. It's a traditional 80s 90 minutes movie almost.
But yeah, I think like the first half of the movie is really good. Like just like a waitress becoming a superhero. I like that bit where she's like trying to break into her doctor's office, and she jumps up and just like hits like the brick wall of the building and falls down. It's like, you don't have this figured out yet, do you?
Yeah, it's a movie with a lot of interesting ideas. I mean, here's where the movie failed me. Number one, the bad people were predictable.
Yeah.
Like the government lady, and like, because the start of the movie was cool. It was like there's people running around. There was damage done to this building. This lady was calmly walking in, and it's, finds the girl in the utility closet, and it's like, okay, we're going to help you. And it's like, oh, this kind of has like a sinister beginning, and nothing. My problem in this movie is nothing pays off, and I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is kind of lame.
Yeah. You're watching a German movie. We want something. Well, it almost seems like you get done with it. And it's like, is this a kids movie? Like, was this a German's
Yeah.
kids movie? And like, we're just like giving it too much credit than what it deserves, or giving it too much expectation than what it would deserve.
I think this was something that was attached to something else that Netflix wanted, and it's like, you have to take this too. Like, if you want dark, you've got to take this. Like, why? Well, it's the friend of somebody, and it's a concept, and and again, it's one of those things. It's like, well, we've done these dystopian superhero things. I mean, it's almost getting. I want to see The Boys play out, and there's a few other things that are interesting, but it's like, well, this formula has been done before and better.
Yeah.
There's nothing compelling about any of these people because the bad guy is the absolute generic bad guy story. You knew that Mr. Shocker or the Electro Kid or whatever, you knew he was going to go bad
Yeah.
because you knew he had a thing for the waitress, and you know and he was sucked into this fantasy world, and then his dad had this weird girlfriend that was, you know, his dad was neglected him, and so yeah, it was everything like, oh, we've seen all this. It's like, is that the point of this? Is there some level of humor here I'm missing? Where it's like, oh, this is meant to be like a farce.
And also, there's like I feel like they want you to think, like, you know, the government suppressing all these powers and abilities as like being like super evil and a bad thing, but like it seems to be like they're in the right.
Yeah, that's like, that's not a bad idea.
Because like as soon as these people get their powers, it's like people die and things get blown up.
Yeah, it's like the waitress, the main character, when she was walking home, and the guys that just apparently hung out by their car all night to harass women. You know, when they're like being physical with her, and it's like, oh, if she didn't have these powers, she'd get raped, and it's like, how's she going to handle this? Well, she essentially kills 3 people because the one guy bent a light pole in half and got thrown into it. I'm just thinking that's one you're going to walk away from, unless German light poles are designed with some kind of weird safety feature where they gently fold around the human body. But you never hear about, like, there's no consequence to that action. It's like, well, good, she stood up to those guys. That's satisfying, but 3 people are dead.
Well, the consequence is that her doctor shows up at her place of work and then nothing happens.
Yeah. Yeah, her weird gas station / pork chop place. What do they say when they hand them the meals? It's like, from our house to yours, or we want. Yeah, it was some weird, like,
yeah, something like that.
with sloganeering that was like, that was. I sort of like that. I thought that was going to pay off later. Like, she was going to kill the bad guy and be like, for most years, thank you know, but it didn't. Nothing paid off in this.
Well, yeah, there is that interesting thing. Like, as soon as these people get their powers, they're like, all right, what do we do with this? And, like, it's kind of this dilemma of, like, are we going to do bad things or are we doing a good thing? She, like, robs that ATM to, like, pay for the house. And it's like, well, that's a bad thing. And then like, at the end of the movie, it's like, we have people, like, stoically standing on a building. It's like, we're going to save the world. It's like, I don't think the world's in danger. Except you are the danger.
Yeah. Yeah, the world's in danger from stuff, but it seems like just having the person with a power of a nuclear reactor within them is probably, like, that's the main danger. Especially because now they're very morally ambiguous people who feel, well, the government's wronged us and my life kind of sucks. And it's like, everyone in this show seems like they should become the supervillain, and it's because they're all miserable. And yeah, so it's kind of like nothing new here.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed
It was
like
sorta
very
like
generic X-Men, but even less interesting.
Yeah, I was like, I was expecting for a weird, like, cultural payoff from across the ocean. Some, like, oh, maybe there's an angle I don't consider that.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, nah.
No.
Nothing. Unless this was I've heard that Germans have a very strange sense of humor.
Yeah.
And it's beyond dry. It's beyond deadpan. It's not like that British, like, Mr. Bean stuff where people are acting weirdly and other people are like, oh, okay, that, you know, that kind of, or that Monty Python where it's just over the top outrageous. I know the Germans have a super dry sense of humor, like people waking up and realizing they're frogs is like wildly funny over there because that's happened. It's completely irrational, but everyone is to act seriously as if this is happening, and that scene is humor.
It'd be like if someone tell you like this is a German comedy, and you'll know to laugh when there's a laugh track, and then the show doesn't have a laugh track.
Yeah. It's like, what are you making? What's your point here? It's just so ironic how stupid superheroes are. It's like, great, we know this. Nobody thinks this is real. I know you think Americans are all stupid, but no, we don't really believe this stuff. It's kind of a metaphor for our best ambitions, or a way to make money, whatever.
But I did like the lead actress. I like the idea of the super waitress. But yeah, that's about it. That's kind of the highs of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing here that like didn't hate it, didn't love it, never watch it again.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
No reason to recommend it to other people.
No. It's like it's there, or you can go to Amazon with the Boys, which is a much better version of a very similar thing.
Yeah.
It's much darker and more violent. This is kind of light on the violence and the kind of grittiness.
That's why I thought, like, is this for kids? Because it's like, I mean, that time you have like, there's no blood except for that just splash of blood at the opening, but you don't see a body. It's just like blood on a table that you assume, like, oh, somebody got killed.
Yeah.
And then the Electro Man guy, like, he just touches people and people just kind of like fall down, and it seems nebulous as to like whether he killed them or just incapacitated them, because it can be both, but you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, did he tase them or did he stop their heart? We don't know, and it's never explained. And how does he engage that internally? And in German, it should have been complex superheroes, that like formulas that have to be followed and things that have to be. That's what I would expect from the German.
Yeah,
it's like complex superheroes, like they have to follow science to use their powers or to kill people. But no, this could have been the rural Midwest, for all you know.
Yeah. And I thought weirdly that kid, or like her kid, I thought the actor was like kind of bad. Because it seems like, I think he seems like he's like 12 or something like that, but they have him play like he's 7 years old or something.
Yeah, he seems a little childlike for a kid that's that big.
Or maybe that's why he has no friends and people are picking on him.
Yeah, I love the bullies in these movies. They're like the most outrageous bullies. Like, you could never do shit like that in real life. You'd be suspended from school. You couldn't do stuff like that when I was growing up. Not during school. Now, after school, you could beat people with bats. It's like, well, nobody saw it, so we don't know. But, during school, it's like, yeah, you can't, like, hoist a kid up a flagpole or just hold him down and beat him mercilessly. Like, they will call the police and arrest you if you do that. So yeah, the bullies are always like outraged and richly deserved. And that's why I like that fan theory about. I watched all the Cobra Kai stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I actually enjoyed it for some. And I was never like a big karate kid. Like, I've seen the first and second movies.
Yeah.
Because they were around when I was like, 12 or 14. I don't know how old I was when those came out.
84 was when the first one came out.
Oh, that would have been 10. So that, that was, I was never super into it, but I knew enough to like watch the show and be wildly entertained. But I like that fan theory that in the first, have you ever heard this, in the first Karate Kid, where it's like really, it's the bad guy is the one who's being bullied by the young kid because he makes him look foolish at every turn, and he's relentless about it.
Yeah.
And he beats him in the tournament life.
Yeah. Daniel's the bad guy, and because he's irresponsible.
Daniel's the actual bad guy.
Yeah. But they kind of work with that in the TV show.
Yeah, those were great. I mean, the first season was a lot better than the second, but it's all really good. It's like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's super nostalgic for me because it kind of predates when I would be paying attention to that stuff, but I did know what it was.
Yeah.
So,
And if
Maybe
it's
main-
it's interesting. It seems to be like lots of people like it, but it seems for like different reasons. Because I feel like there's a lot of like conservative people on my Facebook feed that really like the show, and I think it seems to like they're calling like Gen Z pussies, and like you just get over that, and like but like the ultimate message of the show is like no, they're not wrong. They're just but they stop at that. Yeah, they're pussies. Yeah, like
yeah.
participation trophies ruined everything. Like those
Yeah, well,
assholes.
they kind of show that like Johnny Lawrence, when he first opens the dojo, and he calls the kid with the hair lip and Tubby, and he has horrible nicknames for people, and it's like, yeah, okay, this guy's an asshole. He's always an asshole.
But he grows. He grows over the show, so he learns to like. He's still kind of an asshole, but he learns to be a better person, even though he's an asshole.
Well, I mean, he's really tough on people, but when like his old guy Kreese, the old master of the dojo, shows up, it's like, oh, he's just really a bad guy. That guy is an irredeemably bad guy. He's always straight been this guy. He's manipulative, but he's always been like, he always believes in what he believes in, and it's like, yeah, that's the folly of being cruel to people all the time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, sometimes you can be cruel to people some of the time, but you can't just be mean all the time, because you're just an asshole then. I mean, you don't have anyone, there's nothing redeemable about it. And here it's like the older characters are cool to see, but the younger characters do a good job too.
Yeah.
It's like the reverse role of Miguel and Danny is like, oh yeah, they were kind of the same sort of kids starting out, but they, it's like no one's really good or bad. Everyone's kind of motivated by different things.
Yeah, I think the only thing I don't buy is that the idea of a kid or a school full of modern age kids, like all getting swept up in the karate craze. Like I just don't think that would happen.
No,
But that's this universe.
That's the fantasy. Yeah. Yeah, that's the fantasy aspect of it. Of course, it was like great because Grace. We looked at some of them. He didn't really get it because he didn't know anything much about the original movies. But I was like, so did they ever have kids in school that were really into that? It's like, well, yeah, there was always the one kid who like no one wanted to fight, and he was like 95 pounds, but he's a black belt. But everyone knew it, so you didn't push him down the stairs and kick him in the ass or something, because you knew this kid was going to kick your ass. So you just, no one messed with him. But there wasn't a lot of that kind of bullying going on when he was in school either. I mean, he didn't experience any of it. I think that's why he might have been on the football team. But
yeah, I also like I'm not in school. I don't know if that's. We always assume like bullying is just like then, now, and forever. It will always be like I don't. It seems to be cyberbullying is kind of the thing nowadays, rather than in face ruining someone's life and belittling them in front of the schoolmates.
yeah, see, that's the thing. Like if you do stuff in front of witnesses, I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of repercussions to that. And that cyber stuff, like I said, I'm not on the internet enough to. I mean, I know that's real and I know how it's real, but I have a very low presence and threshold. It's like, because I want to talk about models. It's like, tell me I'm fat. It's like, okay, yeah, you think I don't know that? But see, once you open Pandora's box, then I can go find things out about you, and it can get really awful. Why do we want to do that? Why kick each other in the balls? It's like, if you don't like me, don't talk to me. Cool. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But yeah, kids have that social thing too. So. But yeah, Cobra Kai was actually really good. First season stronger than the second for sure, but
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised, not expecting to watch, and especially because I was on shutdown then, and I just like, I started watching it. Next thing I know, it's 5 a.m. Like, oh, okay, well, this has definitely pulled me.
Well,
in.
they're only half-hour episodes, so it is pretty breezy to get through a season. But
yeah,
you have 2 seasons waiting for you. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of material, and it's something that interestingly was on another platform, and like people knew about it and they said it was good, but nobody was doing YouTube Red, so at least not enough people. And then it comes to Netflix and everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
But I think everyone does a great job. fun to see. It's fun to see people. Like I said, it's interesting to see it from the Johnny Lawrence side, because that guy's kind of he's sort of a one-dimensional character, and he's a one-dimensional actor.
Yeah.
Okay, pussies, let's, it immediately switches back to that gear. All right, maybe this is how this guy learns. I don't know. But again, this wasn't like relaunching Star Wars or something, so the expectations were not like through the roof. So people are like, "Oh, pleasantly surprised." And it's well written too. It's not too farcical.
Yeah, well, I guess I said it was like well structured, because it's like no one's gonna win an Emmy off of this stuff, but it's just really well done. How they use the nostalgia and the dichotomy of things and organize it in a way that's really interesting.
Yeah, and there's people you care about and people you're just kind of like, oh, okay, that's an interesting side story. But yeah, you're right. The Karate Teens in 2020 is like, I don't see that happening.
Well, that's because like the reason that Daniel like starts his own dojo is like because he needs to like the force of Cobra Kai is influencing all these teens. He has to like bring him back to the good side of the way. It's like it's just
Yeah, there's an easier way to do this than throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars at it. You can just wait, and they'll be on to TikTok or something.
But in the focus of the show, like these karate tournaments. Well, even I don't know. They say the karate tournament's been on the decline, but you see like Daniel has made a whole career based on one karate tournament, so it's important to him and it's important within the show. So it's a framework that they focus on.
Now, I know there were other movies beyond 1 and 2, and there were attempted reboots. I've never seen any of them. I don't know if that has any bearing on the show at all. I don't think it seems to just be like focusing on the first one being the show, and then a few references to the second movie.
Yeah,
and that's it.
I don't know. The Red Letter Media guys did a dive on it, and they get to the third one, and like there's some things that filter in, but mostly like not really. That's movies mostly forgettable, but like the plot to the third one is that like there's some guy who's just some multi-billionaire, and like his side business is the Cobra Kai, and when he finds out like somebody beat my dojo at a karate tournament, it's like this can't stand. And it's like this guy just like puts everything aside business wide just to try to ruin Daniel's life because his team got beat in a karate tournament, which is completely ludicrous.
Yeah, it seems like quite the villain. I'll have to watch that episode of theirs.
And then I don't think next Karate Kid has any bearing whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure the remake that they did with Jackie Chan has any bearing.
Oh, okay.
Although it would be nice to have just Hilary Swank show up for no reason. Like, do we know each other? No.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, she was in one of those attempted reboots, wasn't she?
Yeah, it was like one of her first big movies. Failed completely.
Yeah.
And didn't show up again until Boys Don't Cry, which was probably like 6 years later or something.
Yeah, which was a really weird movie. Very sad movie.
Yep.
It's like, wow, this what a messed up world that would be. But, yeah.
Anyways, Freaks, you're one of us.
Yeah, check it out. And then if you're Netflix, watch Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And you'll enjoy that. Well, that's about all I have for this week.
Yeah. Sorry, I've been too sleepy this episode.
Oh, no, that's fine. I have been too. It was good to see you again.
Yeah.
It's nice of you to come up for 32 hours.
Have a bunch of things with gravy on it.
Yeah, you eat healthy. You always eating healthy when you're coming to my house. If I'd known, I would have got steaks from our butcher guy. That would cool, but you gotta do the week out. But we got to go eat in a restaurant, which when I went out to eat with you, that was the first time, it was the second time I've been to a restaurant in 6 months. So it was a good time. Even though we didn't get our cheese fries.
Well, at least we weren't charged
So
for
we're
it.
meant-
So.
Yeah, I told him, I said that, because guy was like really apologetic. He's like, hey, as long as I'm not paying for it, that's good. Should have asked him to knock something off the bill. Like, hey, take one of these things. Just really push it. And I even left him a tip. And Grayson was worried, and I told him, see, I'm being nice. See? I'm not upset. Grayson thinks I get too mean with people. It's like, no, I'm not being mean. I want them to be the best them that they can be. I'm going to help them. Here to help. All right. This week for the American Greed Factory podcast is Nathan.
This is Conlon. Goodbye, America.